Hi, hello everyone. I just want to ask one question. How many people here are from high school? Okay, how many people are coaches? How many people are runners? Okay, how many people, good, all right. Well, one of the things I heard tonight was that we have to keep adjusting things. That was pretty interesting stuff. I find that's the challenging part about being an athlete. That's the exciting part about being a coach. Is always adjusting things. I think anything in life that we can count on is change. Now, one of the things when I started off, I went to a high school called Power Memorial in Manhattan, New York City. And what's super about Power Memorial was a condemned hospital in 1940 something, 10 stories, and they made it into a high school, and it was very popular for basketball. Lou Alcindor, Primo Abdul-Jabbar, Lenny Elmore, Chris Mullin, several other pro athletes. So we found out that change was very exciting. New York City never stayed the same. We didn't have a track, so Central Park in 1970 wasn't a good place. There was no such thing as joggers. Either you were crazy or a drug addict to be in Central Park. So I think I qualified under the crazy part. And we had a lot of excitement every day in there. There would always be something going on, either police, something going on. So our coach at Power Memorial, and I gave you, I think, a pretty good handout, one article, that's one they call an interview with Brother Bieles. And Brother Bieles, this gentleman who had a very successful program, he was a Christian brother. During Christian brother, had full load of teaching. He was the guidance counselor and the track coach. And during that time, he coached every year for 9. He was only coach there for 9 years. And we had records from on the back of sheets there from every year with pen relays. He was getting first, second, or third. And during that time, we had other events, but 3 milers. I was 402 in high school. All 3 of us were the top miles in the nation. We were 402, 406, and 409 during that 9-year period. And interestingly enough, I was the biggest one, and we all different styles. All 3 were different. I was white. We had a black guy, and we had a Spanish guy, a Puerto Rican. And none of us ran the same. None of us thought the same. None of us talked the same. So the cool part is you could be. What I figured out is you could look like anything. I know they like to box us in and tell you how successful runners look. But at 175 and 105.10 as a freshman in high school, I don't think anyone picked me out to be a distance runner. I think that halfback form of mine was a little unique, and a lot of people remember me more for being bigger than being faster. And I enjoyed that notoriety. And but at the beginning, it was a little tough to take because people had an idea what runners are supposed to look like or sound like. So that wasn't true. But if you go through his philosophy in there, is basically a lot of stuff that I use today in coaching. But one of the things that he put in there is how to run a high school program for the coaches, as well as one of the myths that are out there. Like most people in every runner's world, and that stuff is designed for guys my age that are overweight, working a job or 2, commuting, and have families. So things like rest days are important. Taking days off are okay. But basically, if you're a healthy 16, 17-year-old boy or girl, I don't think you need days off, because this is something that hopefully you really enjoy looking forward to going to. And most of the kids at our school, whether they were basketball or track, basically they did their schoolwork so they could get to track practice. And they made sure they got the grades so they could stay on the team. So a lot of things, sport is a very useful tool and can be used in a positive way beside winning races and winning championships, which we did more than our fair share there. So for my coach, I think one of the things that he did is he also had a master's in biology and a master's in psychology. And rule 1 was, it's in the article, is the mind leads the body. So every time you're dealing with somebody, you got to remember, and I've sat in seminars that they go through altitude training, VO maxes, you could go shoes, 10,000 strikes per yard, whatever. And they always forget there's a head on that body. And I think as a parent or anything else, you're dealing with a unique person. And that individual has to be dealt with in a different way. There's always exceptions to the rule. Coach Brother Bieles, even though he wore a collar, he always believed it's not white or black, it's that gray in between. And as coaches or as athletes, it's not always going to be perfect. We got to work with what we're given, whether it's Central Park, we can overcome these things. And I think part of things as a coach, athlete, and parent, that we have to learn how to cope and be successful despite that challenge, despite the lack of facilities, despite whatever natural talent you have. And I think as a parent, my children, I think I helped them through some of that. The other part is, basically you have to work hard. You can't get around that fact that talent alone is not enough, whether we're coaches or things. You got to work hard. You got to go beyond what is normal if you want to excel. There's nothing wrong with being in the pack or back of the pack. But if you want to get up front, you're going to have to work hard, whether it's in the classroom, whatever endeavors you're challenge yourself with, you're going to have to work harder than the other person. And once you accept that fact, you can figure ways to make it fun, and there's several things you can do to make it fun. And I think the individual person will find his ways of having fun within the sport, within that job. Somebody else is having fun, whether it's somebody else might consider this putting out fires a lot of fun. Somebody else, I'm going to sit there and not jumping in no building. I see a fire come out. So everyone's not cut out to do every occupation here. And sometimes you're just not cut out to be a fast runner, no matter what trainer, who's your coach is. That's okay too. And we have plenty of people at American University that come in and learn that several things off the track that are much more important than winning races. So after becoming successful in high school, you make the adjustments to go to college. And one of the things that I was part of at Power Memorial was that we were successful in sports and academics. We had some very bright kids as well. Our valedictorian unfortunately died in 9/11 in September, and he went down to Bieles, but he was a lead fireman in there, and he was our valedictorian, one of that engineering degree, and he was on the track team. And a lot of stories that go untold as you grow through the years that you learn, and you still the traits in those people when they were young. And I think it was instilled in our high school program. So I never thought I was that great. I thought I was great because I was part of a successful program. I was part of a successful coach. I was part of a successful family or a tradition. And one of the things that's easy to do is when you have a tradition, it permeates into you, and it was a very much joy when you're 14 searching out life and who you are and who you're not. And most of the time, when you're a pimply-faced 15-year-old kid, you look in the mirror, you don't see success. And in New York City, it's pretty easy to fall off the wagon there and get left behind. And sports was good for that. Our school, the brothers, they were very dedicated to help us through that. So I learned that being part of a program was important. So when I chose my next part, when I went to the University of Oregon, it was easy to go there and excel because at the time, I just recently read they had 18 sub-4 minute miles before I got there. Okay, the rest of the league during the conference didn't even have 10. Those 7 schools together didn't have 10. So it's kind of like you want to be a sub-4 minute mile, you go with a sub-4 minute miles. If you want to make $1 billion, it's pretty easy to go to Wall Street. Okay, if you're interested in where they excel, you want to go there and compete at that level. So for me, the University of Oregon, at that time, Steve Prefontaine was there. It was his last year there. Coach Dillinger, who was my coach, was a 3-time Olympian bronze medalist. And basically his